What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Punt Intended, the sports channel where everything is made up and the punts don't matter. I'm doing, even though it's about a week or so after the draft, I've decided to do my own grades for the 2022 NFL draft first round. And as you can see, I put together just this quick little tier maker list with everyone in the correct order. From first with Travon Walker all the way to Lewis Cine. And I decided to do this now just to give, a week or so to where I could think about what I thought of the draft and how I thought the teams did in the first round. And, and also because I've just been very busy with other stuff in my life. So as you can see, I have, and I'll link this tier list in the description of the video, so you guys can give it a shot yourselves. Originally, I just had A, B, C, and D, but I don't think there's really any D picks. There wasn't any true picks that made me think, what the hell. And there are a few, A+ picks I think were, runaway not steals, but runaway home run picks, and B+, so those picks that I think were good, but might have been the wrong. I don't want to say the wrong, but could have been maybe better options, or maybe the fit just wasn't fully right. And then I don't think there's any true picks, like I said, that's any worse than a C. But of course, this is just my opinion. If you guys want to give it a shot, you can change it however you want. And before I get started, I want to thank my first ever sponsor that I have, W Energy. If you guys want to get 10% off any purchase, just use the code WEEK0 at checkout, WEEK in all caps. And that'll help out myself and also help out the Week Zero podcast I'm a member of. I hope you guys enjoyed the first round live stream that we did together about that. So, and I'll link the website to that in the description as well, if you guys want to check it out. So, let's start off obviously with Travon Walker, Jaguars. I think it was a surprise. I mean, it wasn't a surprise that they took Travon Walker, but when there was rumors coming out that Doug Peterson wanted to go offensive line, which made people think, it was either going to be Ikem Ekwonu or Evan Neal, and then Trent Baalke the GM wanted Travon Walker, the owner, Shad Khan, wanted Aiden Hutchinson. That's bound to happen where people within an organization want different players, but when it comes out that none of them could agree on what they wanted, that's kind of a show of just how messy the situation there in Jacksonville is. And so they went with the upside of Walker over the more proven production of Hutchinson. And so I think it's a B. Like I said, they went upside, but I would have taken Hutchinson, or maybe even Kayvon Thibodeaux. I feel like would have been a better pick than Walker. Walker's numbers just don't compare to either Hutchinson or Thibodeaux. And so, I think they went upside over production, and I think, we'll have to see how he does. So next, Aiden Hutchinson. This is an A+. Getting to keep him in state. He's from Michigan. He went to Michigan. Getting to keep him, in the state is fantastic. They can use him. He can become the new face of the defense. Detroit's doing the right thing, building within the trenches, building the offensive line with the Penei Sewell pick in the first round last year, doing Hutchinson this year. And so I think that's the right thing to do. Next is Derek Stingley. Now, Stingley's interesting. If he was eligible to come out in 2019, he would have been, and he was taken third, this would have been an A+ pick. But 2020, he sat out because of COVID, and 2021, he barely played, if at all, if I remember correctly, because of injury. So I'm going to go with a B, because he hasn't done that much in the past 2 years, and really all of his all of it, everything that you see of him is really what he did in 2019. Now you do see there's film of him running alongside and shutting down Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, which are teammates of his at LSU when he was a freshman in 2019. So it shows that he can stop these guys, but those injuries kind of concern me, unfortunately. Actually, I might even go C, actually, now that I think about it, because I think they should have gone Ahmad Garner, and that's going to straight A+. I really wanted him as a Ravens fan. I really wanted Gardner, but the more and more that came out about him, how well he interviewed, how well his tape looked, the less likely he was going to be available there at 14 for the Ravens. And he just kept going up and up the board. Because early on in the process, before the combine, he was a mid, 10 to maybe 20 pick, maybe even 15 to 20 is what I've been seeing, and now he's the number 4 pick, and I think he's going to be better than Stingley. And so the Jets did the right thing, got a guy who could be maybe the next Darrelle Revis. Of course, that's a big if, but I think that'll be a good thing for them. Kayvon Thibodeaux is next. I'm going to go... do I want to go A? I'll go A. The only reason I don't want to go A+ is now, of course, my friend Lucas from Week 0 podcast kind of said is probably blown out of proportion what's been said about his drive and so on and so forth. But in watching some of his tape and stuff, there are plays where you could see him kind of take a nap. I guess you could take a nap on the field. He didn't give it his all in certain times, and of course, it's the Giants, so you're afraid of what production they can get out of him or how well their training staff will be able to work with him and stuff. But I think it's a great pick. It'll help out the defense a lot. And obviously the next pick that they had at 7 is going to be a great pick as well. And I think I'm going to have that a little bit higher, just early foreshadowing. Ikem Ekwonu is also going to be an A. They went tackle, which I think was the right thing to do. They didn't reach on a quarterback, which most people thought they were going to do at 6. I thought they were going to do that at first for a little bit leading up to the draft. And so going tackle, building the offensive line, regardless of who they have at quarterback this year, whether it is Matt Corral, who they took in the 3rd, which I think getting him in the 3rd round, that's fine. It's going to be a good pick to, just see who they can, what they have there. If Sam Darnold does his thing where he just craps the bed. Building the offensive line, give CMC hopefully some running lanes if he's not injured. Allow whoever's the quarterback to get passes off to DJ Moore, who just got that extension. So Ikem Ekwonu, A+ or A. Evan Neal, I think he's an A+. I liked him more than Ekwonu. I had him going first overall in my mock draft to the Jags. Because he can just play anywhere along the offensive line wherever they need to. The Jags made the mistake of signing franchise tagging? I think they franchise tagged and then extended Cam Robinson, which that was ridiculously stupid. I felt that they should have gone offensive line. And in general, I think the Jags should have gone more offensively in the draft to help Trevor Lawrence. That's Travis Etienne is who I was thinking of. But getting back to Neal, Neal's definitely going to help out the Giants. Daniel Jones, I think, has one more chance this year to kind of put everything together. And I think Neal at least can protect him. He can be moved all over the field or all over along the offensive line. Excuse me. And I think it's an A+ pick. Now Drake London. I think it's a B+. I think I would have rather them taken any of these 3 guys, Wilson, Olave, or even Williams ahead of him. Even though Williams has a worse injury than what London had, but at times London really only has one really good year of production. And he only did it in 8 games because he was injured with I think an ankle injury or something. So, um, so, but the 2 years before this past season, he really hadn't done as much as you would want to see. And then, but I mean, it's a smart thing for the the Falcons to go after. They needed wide receiver. That was their biggest need, was wide receiver, other than quarterback, which they addressed later on with Desmond Ridder, which I thought was a good pick. Probably would have been an A or an A plus pick for me, taking Ridder in the 3rd round. But so taking London, that'll help shore up the offense a bit, and having Pitts and London now to throw to makes the offense a little bit better. But there's really no depth behind London now. I couldn't even name Olamide Zaccheaus. That's about the only wide receiver I could name on the Falcons right now, other than London. So still a smart pick, but I think I really would have wanted to see them take one of these other guys that came after him, because they're a little bit more proven in my opinion. Charles Cross at 9. How ironic that they get rid of Russell Wilson. Now they just start to invest the offensive line. That's a joke a lot of people were saying. Charles Cross, I think, is an A. Despite that joke, it's the smart thing to do, building the offensive line, protecting Drew Lock or Geno Smith, or whoever gets drafted maybe next year, if they draft wide receiver next year, if they're really bad, or not wide receiver, quarterback, excuse me. But building the trenches, that's the most important thing for any team to do. That's where it starts, and getting Charles Cross. He was the best remaining offensive lineman in the draft, at least tackle. So getting him for the Seahawks was a good get. So A for them. Garrett Wilson. Despite what I said about Drake London, I think it's an A. Wilson to Wilson. Zach Wilson now has another weapon to work with, along with Breece Hall and Jeremy Rucker, in the 3rd round. So he has 3 new weapons to work with, and the Jets are now hoping that Zach Wilson takes that next step. And the Jets honestly had a really great draft. We'll get to Jermaine Johnson obviously down here in a bit after everybody else, but so far so good for the Jets. And I think my friend Shine, shine bright like a diamond, that's his name, Shine. He's a big Jets fan. He was very, very happy with this draft, and I think he would agree that was at least an A plus picks for these two. I would have gone. I personally, I had Williams as my best wide receiver, so I would probably have taken him. But I understand them going with Wilson. Doesn't have the injury concern that Williams does. So, but great pick for the Jets. Olave. Now, pick wise, I'll be honest. I'm kind of going at it 2 different ways. Pick wise, I'd give it an A, but they traded up for him. Now it makes sense in hindsight, but at first I'll put it a B plus. In hindsight, it makes sense because obviously there was a run on wide receivers. There was Wilson, Olave, and then Williams, and then after that came Dotson and Burks. So, but they could have gotten him. I think they were at 16. They could have gotten maybe not Olave. I'm not sure if Olave would have been there. Because Washington did take a wide receiver, so they probably were going to take Olave or Williams or Dotson. They were going to take any one of those 3. So I understand them trading up, but at the same time, I thought they were going to go quarterback here. Maybe take a flyer on Malik Willis. That's what I preferably wouldn't want to see. I'm obviously not a Saints fan, so I can't speak to what Saints fans wanted to see. But that's what I thought they should have done. But it's a B plus pick. I mean, if any of you watched Tom Grassi, you saw he said when he started watching Chris Olave's tape, he said he looked like a saint right away. And yeah, Olave's crazy good. Pair him up with Mike Thomas, whatever happens with him. But another weapon for the offense to work with. So B plus. Now Williams, despite the injury, he's an A plus. I think is the move is just crazy. Trading up 20 spots and also getting an earlier pick in the second as well. I think they moved up like 20 spots for both the first and the second with a division rival. Is a great move, and they take Williams. Now, Jared Goff's probably not going to be the quarterback that'll untap the full potential he has, but I don't think Goff is going to be there beyond this season, and they'll probably be bad enough to where they'll be in a position to draft a C.J. Stroud or a Bryce Young or any other quarterback come next year. So, but still, I think it's a great pick. So now they have two kind of faces of the offense and the defense. I mean, Williams, the offense actually is pretty good now for Detroit, relatively speaking. They have DeAndre Swift, they have Jameson Williams, they have Hawkinson. So those are three huge weapons for Goff to use, or whoever they draft at a quarterback next year if they decide to do that. So I like it. I like what the Lions are doing. Let's just hope they can turn the corner and kind of put it all together within the next couple of years. Jordan Davis, he's an A. Of course, I probably would have wanted to see him at fall to the Ravens, and many people within the AFC North would have been crying out in pain if they had seen that happen, especially Steelers fans. I saw a lot of Steelers fans thanking the Eagles for taking Jordan Davis away from the Ravens, but and it wasn't also that. It was Jordan Davis, and right after that came the A.J. Brown trade within like a couple minutes of each other. So the Eagles had a great sort of couple minutes there. But yeah, he's an A pick. Him and Fletcher Cox will be crazy good on the defensive line. The only thing is his not his athleticism, because he's very athletic. It's more of his conditioning. How long can he actually stay? Because there were times, I think, was it the SEC championship game where they lost to Bama, where I remember seeing late in the game, watching that game, where late in the game you saw him and other members of the Georgia defense, defensive line, just stand there, just like, oh God, they looked winded. I mean, because obviously Bama's offense was rolling that game, but that's the only fear you have is his condition. How many snaps can he actually do? Can he be 3 down defensive lineman, or will you have to do 2 to 3 snaps per 10 or whatever, because I don't think he's going to be on the field, at least for now, to make the biggest impact. That's the only concern I have. Okay, Ravens with Kyle Hamilton. Not to be a homer, but I am saying A+. The Ravens just let it, everyone just jokes the Ravens just let the board come to them, and obviously people will say, if they're so good at drafting in A's every year or whatever, why aren't they winning games and stuff? But, they just go best player available. I thought they were going to go Jermaine Johnson. That was the best edge rusher left. Because they definitely need edge rusher, but they decided to go best player available, and that was Kyle Hamilton. A comp that I kept seeing quite often was Ed Reed, and that's another thing about Ed Reed is he came into the league, he had a slow 40. I think it was like 4.5 or 4.6. Kyle Hamilton, he's like a 4.7 or just like about a 4.6 as well. But a lot of people said, game speed, he's really fast and stuff, and even just now with rookie training camp starting, they've already been saying, Hamilton this past couple of days has been looking like he's a step ahead of the rest of the team or the rest of the defense. So and he's been having with the green light or the green dot. So the Ravens trust him to do that, at least for now. And so now they can have they can put him at strong safety. And then put Marcus Williams at free safety. They can have him and Chuck Clark rotate in or out. They can go 3 safeties high, or bring Hamilton down as a linebacker, because he played all over the field last year for the Fighting Irish, not just at safety. There was a few snaps they showed that he played at like inside or outside linebacker on both sides. So A+ pick. He's just very versatile, and I love to see it. Kenyon Green. I understand going guard. I'm gonna go with a B. They didn't go quarterback because Davis Mills probably was the second best quarterback, rookie quarterback, last year for the Texans, and so they get a guard to protect him, which is the smart thing to do, I think. Get someone like that. It's just everyone seemed to agree that he was a bit of a reach. Probably would have been better again in the second round, maybe late first. To get him right in the middle of the first round might have been a little bit of a reach, but they're protecting Davis Mills, and depending on how Mills plays this year, they'll probably draft a quarterback next year as well. So we'll have to see with that. Jahan Dotson. He's a B. It was a position of need, apparently, for Washington. Now they have Dotson and Scary Terry for Heineke. No, not Heineke. Wentz. It's so funny. The offseason has been so crazy. It was so crazy. I completely forgot that Wentz had even gone to Washington. But having Dotson to throw to now makes the offense a little bit better for Washington. But I felt like they could have done maybe something a little bit different. Maybe gone probably not offensive tackle. I mean, they could have taken Penning maybe, but I feel like they get another weapon is okay, I guess. Especially with the rumors of teams trying to trade for Scary Terry, and also Terry. He's up for a big extension pretty soon since he's in the same draft class as AJ Brown and Debo and all those guys. So he might be traded out. He might be traded out if Washington, stupidly, of course, decides not to pay him. Especially, it's Dan Snyder. He'll always do the thing that's going to hurt them the most, it seems. So, getting another wide receiver is a good thing, I guess. Zion Johnson is B+. Protecting. They did the smart thing, as I keep saying, protecting their investment with Justin Herbert. Getting another offensive lineman. They've done that now 2 straight years. Actually, I'm going to go A. I'm going to go with A with that. Because, got to protect Justin Herbert, especially with what the AFC West became this year during this offseason. It's going to be a bloodbath next year, probably, or this upcoming season. So, protecting Herbert, allowing him to hit the weapons that he has will be great for them. So, A, Chargers building that offensive line, just very smart drafting right there. Treylon Burks. Fortunately, this is going to be combined with the AJ Brown. It probably could. I'm going to do it. I'm going to give it a B because the biggest comp for Treylon Burks by most people was AJ Brown. So they pretty much replaced AJ Brown with an AJ Brown clone, just that's 3-4 years younger, and they don't have to pay as much money. But the Titans, the offense is pretty much hand the ball to Derrick Henry 40-50 times a game and hope he doesn't break down like he did last year. They obviously won the conference, or with the 1 seed, So, it worked out, but they still had Brown for stretches of that at times. So, wide receiver is now their biggest need. They'll probably have to fill it with somebody else because other than Burks, Julio is now gone, so they have Burks and a few other guys that I can't really name off the top of my head. So, and that's the unfortunate thing for Burks is his comp was AJ Brown, and that will be who he's compared to, unfortunately, this coming year and for the next couple of years. He's now tied to him. So if he can't live up to this draft status, the Titans just kind of did it to themselves, unfortunately. Trevor Penning. I'm going to go with B+. So obviously the Saints went, I have both of them at B+. Obviously you can see I probably would give them B+. They went offense both times. their defense was really good last year, so I understand them going more offense, especially with just the uncertainty around Mike Thomas since he hasn't really played at all for the past 2 years. So obviously Olave kind of will help alleviate that. And then Trevor Penning, whoever's at quarterback, he'll protect him along the offensive line. I kept seeing Penning to the Ravens a lot. A lot of Ravens fans, myself included, kind of didn't want that. I mean, I wouldn't have minded it, but there were a lot of Ravens fans who would have been very upset if he had been taken at 14 by the Ravens, if not for Hamilton having been falling into our laps. But I feel like that might have happened. But with the Saints are building up the offense, which I think is a smart thing. Whatever happens with the quarterback this year or next year, the offense will be better. Hopefully, they hope. So, good pick for them. Kenny Pickett. Okay. All joking aside, I think it's a B plus. I think they went with the safer pick over Malik Willis. Obviously, Willis fell all the way to the third round, which I thought was ridiculous. Willis has in my opinion, has the higher ceiling, he has the most upside, but he's the more risky of the two. Whereas Pickett probably has the lower ceiling, but is the safer pick. Now, I jokingly said that this is the Steelers making up for missing on Dan Marino back in 1983, because he went to Pittsburgh as well, and the Steelers didn't draft, and they drafted another quarterback, if I remember correctly. I don't know his name, because I don't know much about the Steelers beyond that. So that's them kind of correcting that. I joked. And all the Steelers fans were happy about it. It seemed most Steelers fans wanted Pickett, and I was okay with them taking Pickett. I would have been kind of more upset if they had taken Willis. But I understand them going with the safer pick because Willis also played in a lower division or a lower conference. So you don't know how that translates very well. At times, because he didn't do very well against higher competition teams for the most part. But then, of course, that's something against Pickett is the ACC, especially this past year, was much weaker than usual. And also, outside of this past season, his numbers were very, very mediocre to very below average, and then he explodes for one season, so it's a little bit of a surprise that happened. But I think keeping him in the friendly confines of Heinz Field will be good. I just hope he doesn't do very well, but Steelers had a good pick there to begin overall. Trent McDuffie. So the Chiefs, instead of going wide receiver, at least in the first round, they decided to go defense with both of them. We'll get to their second pick later. But they go defense because of, like I said, with Zion Johnson, the AFC East will just be a bloodbath this year, probably. Because both offenses and defenses have gotten better in the division. So they decided to go defense. I think it's an A pick. He was the best remaining corner in the draft at that point. Obviously, there's another corner down here, but we'll get to that. But yeah, getting corner, he replaces, what's his name? Javarius Ward. Shore up that defense. Just make that defense, even if they just get the defense to being average, that's going to be good enough to where the offense, hopefully, if the offense doesn't see a major drop-off, losing Tyreek Hill, as long as the defense is average or serviceable, the Chiefs should be fine. But we'll have to wait and see, obviously, because that was their Achilles heel early in the season. Was the defense was so bad that the offense could, no matter how good the offense was, the defense would just choke games away. They 3-4, whatever. They were able to course correct a bit towards the end of the season, obviously, and make it to the 2 seed. But the defense hurt them to begin the season, so investing in the defense is the smart thing for them to do. Quay Walker. Now, I think they should have gone for the Packers. I think they should have gone Devin Lloyd, obviously, here. They went defense. Of course, many people joked about them not going offense, especially wide receiver, because they needed that. But there was a big drop-off in wide receivers pretty much after, where is he? After Burks. There was a big gap in the quality of them. So I'm going to go B plus. You know, I probably would have taken Devin Lloyd. I thought he was the best linebacker in the draft. Nakobe Dean, of course, many people, if you saw the draft, we we jokingly said, is Nakobe Dean even a real person anymore? Because he just was nowhere. But we didn't know at the time about the shoulder injury or the shoulder issue. I feel like if he had gotten the surgery, he would have been a first round pick, Dean. But he decided not to do it, and that scared a lot of teams away, obviously. And he becomes a third round pick for the Eagles. That's an A plus pick. I'll say that right now. That's an A plus pick for me if I was to grade the third round for the Eagles. Getting Dean in the third, but Quay Walker, I mean, he's the guy next to Dean in the Georgia defense, and I like the pick. Shore up the defense for the Packers. I mean, if the defense is good, if it doesn't matter what happens with the offense, if the defense is good enough for the Packers, they're fine, because the defense, really special teams, is what cost them last year in the playoffs and in a few games. Even when they beat the Ravens in some other games they won, the special teams is what kept the other teams in the game. So, and the defense collapsed at a few times as well. But as long as they have Aaron Rodgers, they should be fine. But Quay Walker, B plus. Kaiir Elam, I'm gonna go B plus. Excuse me. Like I said, he was the next corner after him. I thought he would be towards the end of the draft. That's where I had him. I think I had Elam in the very late 20s in my mock draft I did. But I mean, this pick is all about making sure they have another corner to put alongside Tre'Davious White, who obviously got injured last year. And the Bills missed it, and obviously it's to ensure that they don't give up two massive plays with only 13 seconds left in the game. So, show up the defensive side of the field and make sure those big plays don't happen. That cost them a chance at a AFC Championship game. Tyler Smith, he's a C. Honestly, I'll be straight. If I did do a D, but I'm not going to do it, I would put him in D. Most penalized player in the entire country last year, at least in Division 1, I believe. Goes to the most penalized team in the entire NFL last year. And obviously, if any of you saw the mock board or the draft board that the Cowboys had, they only had like 12 players that had a first round grade, and all these other players that went in the first round were all grade 2 or like second or third round picks. That Jerry Jones showed us, but Tyler Smith, I don't know what to say other than, Cowboys. But at the same time, it's a smart pick to at least try and replace Lyle Collins, and what's his name, Connor Williams, at least on the offensive line. But felt like too much of a reach to do at that point. I don't know where else they would have gone, but. So now Tyler Linderbaum, Ravens. I really am tempted to put him in A plus as a homer, but I'll put him in A. The only reason I'm keeping him out of A plus is, and this has been something about him, is the size scares people away. I mean, so the Ravens get the number one safety and the number one center. He has very short arms for a center. And the scheme that he did, the zone run scheme he did in Iowa, is much different from the run gap scheme the Ravens do. But he talked about it. It's the offense. He's an offensive lineman. He should be able to do whatever offense they want to run. So it's not going to matter, what he did in college. Won't impact that. But that's really about it. I mean, I don't want to be too much of a home and put both Ravens picks in A plus. I'm really tempted to, but I think that's really about it. But this is a guy who will be hopefully the Ravens starting center for the next 8 to 10 years, hopefully. And that's what Ewing Aintree said. He's like, he said he loved this pick for the Ravens. This is the guy that's going to be starting for the Ravens for 8 to 10 years. Jermaine Johnson. He's an A pick. I really wanted the Ravens to take him at 25. I really would have That's another reason I'm holding against Linderbaum, I'll be honest, is just I kind of wanted them to take Jermaine Johnson, go edge, because that's really the Ravens' biggest need, other than wide receiver now with the Hollywood Brown trade, which is also, I guess I didn't talk about that, but I can talk about that in a separate video, I guess, or something else. But the Jets getting Jermaine Johnson, I think the fourth best edge rusher in the draft at 26, trading up back into the first round to get him, is a great move. And so now they have a better offense, at least with a good weapon, and they have two solid, really good, solid defensive players to build up the defense. And so I'm a little mad. That's about the only reason that I have him at in A's. I think it's. I really just want to see him go to the Ravens, so I'm kind of holding that against the Jets. I'm a little mad about that, I guess. Being a little petty about it, that's kind of funny, but whatever. Devin Lloyd to the Jags. I mean, I don't mind it taking a linebacker, but they took another linebacker later in the draft. I think I'm putting it in a B because the fit doesn't make sense. Only the fit doesn't make sense because they signed. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but they signed this guy to like a 3-year, $30 million deal at linebacker. They take Lloyd, which is fine, but then they take another linebacker later in the draft, and so everyone's confused as to what the Jags are doing. I mean, I like it. I would have liked to have seen him, like I mentioned. I would have wanted to have seen him go. Be the number one, be who the Packers took it instead of Quay Walker, I guess. So that's really about it. It's just I don't know what the Jags are doing, and the fit doesn't fully make sense because now they have 3 or 4 inside linebackers to vie for 1 or 2 spots. So what the Jags are doing is anybody's guess, but that's why they're the Jags, and that's why they're probably going to be picking first overall next year as well. Devontae Wyatt. I'm putting B+ as well. The biggest knock against him was his age. I think he's like 24. He's one of the older prospects on this in this draft, or at least in the first round that came out. But there were times where he was just as good, maybe not just as, but pretty damn good for the Georgia defensive line alongside Jordan Davis. And, of course, Packers fans are very happy because now they have another guy to put there alongside Kenny Clark at defensive tackle or defensive lineman. So, yet again, showing up the defense and in the process pissing off a whole crap ton of Packers fans. Cole Strange, C. Belichick's one of the best coach of all time, but his drafting just never makes sense, and that's actually the funny thing is that's been one of his biggest. That's probably his biggest weakness as a coach / GM is that. I mean, all you need to see about why I have Cole Strange at a C, is the Rams thought he would be available at their first pick at 104, So. And they were surprised to see him go 29th overall. So that's all I got to say about that. George Karlaftis for the Chiefs. That's an A pick as well, along with Trent McDuffie. Just like with McDuffie, shoring up that defense, getting a really good, the best remaining edge rusher in the draft at 30 to shore up that defense and just get after all the good quarterbacks that the AFC West now has, other than his own. Daxton Hill, B. I think the Bengals just had overall, they just had a really good, solid draft. It wasn't anything spectacular, but they did all their damage in the offense, signing all the offensive linemen they did. Making the other moves they did in free agency, and so they were able to kind of get kind of a luxury pick, I guess, getting another safety to, I guess, pair alongside Jesse Bates, or if they decide not to re-sign Jesse Bates, he'll be his replacement next year. And then the Vikings, Lewis Cine. He's a B. The only reason I have him at a B is just the move that involved the Vikings getting him just doesn't make sense. They could have done so much better. They probably could have gotten somebody else like a Jordan Davis or Kyle Hamilton or Jameson Williams. And that'd be crazy if they had taken Williams there at 12. That offense would have been nuts. Or at least the wide receiver core would have been. But Steen, they'll pair alongside Harrison Smith. He's a good safety, but the move just hampers it a bit, and that's why I have it down at a B. So yeah, this is the first round for the 2022 NFL Draft. This is what I have for all of them. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Who do you think I got wrong? Who do you think I got right? And like I said, I'll share the link to this in the description of the video. But that's all, guys. Thanks for watching. And be sure to check out W Energy and get 10% off any of your purchases. Thanks. Bye.